I want to talk to James Matthewson now, former Labour spokesman, about the Minister for Homelessness. This is Rushanara Ali, who is an MP in the east of London. And she allegedly threw out tenants and then hiked rent by £700 a month ahead of a law change to ban that practice. She didn't break any laws, but if you're the homelessness minister and you're making people effectively homeless, well, that's not great, is it, James?
No, to say the least, Peter, it's not. I mean, she needs to resign, in my mind. It just is incompatible with what the government says on this issue and how the government positions itself, let alone the Labour Party and the wider Labour values around this and around how renting should be protected and the kind of noises that have come out of this government. It just doesn't make any sense for her to be in that position. I know Rushanara Ali, she's a very good MP. I wasn't aware of this, and it is fantastic. It's fantastically mind-opening, really, when you realise how many MPs there are who are in these kind of positions. I think 100 MPs in Parliament across the political parties made more than £10,000 last year from their rent on private properties as landlords. So, you know, there are many landlords in Parliament that just don't think one of them should hold this position.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't see any real problem with an MP being a private landlord, but certainly if you're going to be a hypocrite and you're not going to go with the spirit of things, well, that's going to be problematic. Let's just remind ourselves of what the Conservative Party chairman, Kevin Hollingreck, has said on this.
I think it shows staggering hypocrisy. Rushanara Ali has been somebody who's obviously a government minister in charge of homelessness. She's spoken out about exploited tenants, about providing more protections for tenants. You can't say those things, then do the opposite in practice as a landlord. She's got to resign. I think as the law stands today, it was unethical, not illegal. But you can't just say one thing and do another. And that's what we see time and time again from some Labour ministers, saying one thing and doing another. So you're not bound by the law to follow it to the letter of the law. You can do the right thing by tenants, which most landlords in this country do. What Rushanara Ali has done, she's increased the rent deliberately by around 20%, by £700 a month. So that seemed extremely unfair. The tenant wanted another tenancy, and that could have been assessed by an independent tribunal, but no, she decided to kick these tenants out, 4 tenants, and put new people in so she could have more money.
So there we are. That is the chairman of the Conservative Party, Kevin Hollingreck, saying that the Labour homelessness minister, who evicted 4 tenants from her townhouse before upping the monthly rent by £700, should resign. That is what the I newspaper is reporting, and she relisted it for hundreds of pounds more. She also attempted to charge them £2,400 for the house to be repainted and professionally cleaned. I reckon if you and I, James, we could do it for half that if we just got our overalls on and got out the Hoover. I mean, it just doesn't look good. It isn't good. And also, if this was a Conservative minister who had done this, Labour would be all over this like a rash, wouldn't they?
Of course I would. And you've got a Tory, you've got Kevin Hollingreck, sound like he makes sense to me. I mean, that for me to be put in that position.
Is that weird for you, James? Is that weird?
Defensive. It's offensive for me to be in a position where I have to agree with the Tory. And also, by the way, if you and I went out to do those handiwork jobs, I think we'd look a bit like Laurel and Hardy, or maybe maybe the Chuckle Brothers even. But we best not. But
to you,
exactly. But it's one of these things where you think, look. At the end of the day, if you're the minister in charge of homelessness and your job is to go into your department every day and reduce homelessness and to try and get people off the streets, and yet in your private life, in your private dealings and business dealings and investments, you have contributed to that by evicting tenants because you want more money out of them, then I'm sorry, that's completely incompatible.
It just shows a real lack of judgment as well. I mean, she must have at least had it somewhere in her mind that this was going to come out.
I just don't think some of them do, Peter. They get off of the roll, they go into it, they're excited, all the rest of it. And there's this kind of justification that happens with people, isn't there? Where, anything they do, they think, oh, well, I'm justified in doing that. I've come from a background that isn't privileged and I've worked hard for my things and all the rest of it. And we understand that, but just that inability to constantly check your privilege as you go through life and realise that, maybe I shouldn't be the person to try and get people into homes and end this crisis that we have of homelessness in this country. If I'm contributing to that as a private landlord, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Can I ask you about one other big topic that's in the news today, about ID cards? There are loads of people getting in touch about this today. To be brutally honest, far more than we expected would get in touch. Lots of people want to have their say, and we will make sure that people do have their say. What do you make of ID cards? Tony Blair wanted to bring them in about 20 years ago. It seemed to be much more of a row then than it is now, but loads of people getting in touch with us on both sides of the argument, actually. Where do you fall on this, James?
I've changed my mind in recent times about this. I used to be, I didn't really have a huge issue with it. Look, I'm a typical lefty. I like a big state. I like the state to be able to interfere in people's lives and protect people and all the rest of it. But the more and more that I've seen the way that government have handled these issues, from the online safety bill to various other things, in this digital age and in this age of data information sharing being, you know, a currency in itself, I just don't feel comfortable, to be honest, with the government holding that power of having ID cards. I don't trust any government. Governments are interchangeable, and I don't like the step that it puts us towards. I'm not going to say that it's authoritarian. I don't think it is. I think it comes from a good place, but it builds a foundation that could be used by the wrong people. And look, you have to think in government, when you give government extra powers, you have to think about the potential of who could be in government in the future.
It's also the worst case scenario, as you say. It's the worst case scenario from whatever perspective you're coming at this is. If there were to be a government that wanted to misuse this, how would they misuse it? Yeah. James, interesting thoughts there. Thank you for them. James Matthewson, former Labour spokesman.